Hey everyone, Dominic here, bringing you a very long overdue 9th Age battle report. It has been quite some time since I've actually put out one of these. Kind of got inspired after all of the ETC coverage lately to kind of start doing them again. So, like I said, it's been quite some time, so if I'm rusty, you'll have to forgive me. This battle, we've got 4,500 point game, Orcs and Goblins versus the Ogre Cons. We played Refused Flank with Breakthrough. I'm using, for this game, it is the ONG Alpha 4, I believe. I'll put my list in the comments. I forgot to forget the opponent's list, but yeah. Spell selection for Orcs and Goblins, we have Awaken the Beast and the Hereditary on an Orc. We also have Witchcraft. We've got Raven's Wing, Deceptive Glamour, Will-o'-the-Wisp, and the Wheel Turns. For Ogre's spells, he's got the Children of Umi. He's got Awaken the Beast. He has Swarm of Insects and the Rod of Battle, as well as he's got the Bound Chilling Howl, I believe, on the Frost Mammoth. So let's get started. So here's a quick look at deployment. Like I said, we have, on my side anyway here, we have got a pump wagon. We've got veteran orcs with paired weapons full command. We've got a git launcher. We have another unit of veteran orcs, bows, shields, and they are the BSB as well, with the big pole as well. So they've got that 15-inch leadership bubble. Up in front, I have a unit of Goblin Rabble with bows, full command, I believe, and I've got my Wizard Master up here in the corner. I have that Wizard Adept as well over here, an Orc Wizard Adept. I got a big unit of Goblin Rabble with Poison Spears and full command and a Legion Standard. I have another Pump Wagon. I've got a Big Brother Giant who's armed to the teeth. We have my Orc Warlord General, all kinds of good stuff. And we have some Goblin Raiders with Creepy-Crawly upgrade and bows and spies. And then we also have the Iron Orcs full command, and lastly a Guardian Behemoth. He's got the Immensive Bulk and Wicked Horns. I did end up, after a few drops, finishing deploying for first, and I do have 2 netters that are hidden currently. For Ogre Cons, he has got some Tusker Cav. He has, I believe these are tribesmen back here, even though they look like bruisers, they were tribesmen. He's got a Sabertooth, another unit of Sabertooth. He's got a big unit of bruisers up here. In that unit, he has his Wizard Adept with all of those spells, with the Hereditary as well as the Rod of Battle on this guy, I think he had. And over here, he's got his General Kingslayer with paired weapons. I think he's got the Liger Tongue and I want to say Destiny's Call. He might add other things, but he's got a Frost Mammoth back here. A unit of mercenary veterans with, I believe they had halberds, plate armor, and swift stride. I think were their upgrades. And then he's got another unit over here of mercenary veterans with brace of pistols, poisoned accurate, and the BSB is in that unit, I believe. So I did do a Vanguard with the Spider Riders. This is actually already on to turn 1 here. They move up to block the 1. The Guardian Behemoth moves up kind of off the flank over there. I guess it's off camera. But he's up there threatening the flanks already. Most of my line is pretty tentatively. I do move up with the General, the Giant, and the Iron Orcs move up a little bit. The Pump Wagons I actually kind of moved backwards into my own lines, just waiting for the next turn. Yep, that was pretty much it. So into Magic, we got 7/7 phase. We managed to get Will-o'-the-Wisp on the unit of Saber Tusks right here. And then we also cast Guile and Fury on the Veteran Orcs. We also put the attribute on these guys, so they've got Evil Eye for the extra movement, as well as potentially the Guile and Fury bonus charge range, and even more bonus if I do. I've got the War Cry too. So in shooting, we managed to do a couple wounds to the Saber Tusks here with bows, and we also, as you see, we managed to get a Mad Git out. That was pretty much it for turn 1, however. Turn 1 Ogre Cons. So he moves up his one piece of chaff to get in front of the veterans. He started moving around his Tuskers here to... Originally he was going to try and sneak behind this building, but then he realized that the width was actually too wide to fit behind here, so he's kind of kicking himself because now he's going to have to do a reform and waste some time. And he also didn't want to go through that ruins and just waste a bunch of DTs. The other unit of dogs, they went over the Mad Git, suffered a bunch of damage, but are otherwise fine, and moved up a bit with their random move. The rest of his lines, he actually backed up a little bit with everything else, as you see. Yeah, and that was pretty much it for movement. Into Magic, he managed to get absolutely nothing off, but kind of made up for it in the shooting, and he did 4 wounds with the poison shots to the behemoth on the flank. So yeah, that hurt, but that was it for turn 1 Ogre Cons. On to turn 2, we were outside of frenzy check range, so I didn't have to declare a charge. I did charge against the one Saber Tusk that was blocking these guys, and he actually decided to flee. And I obviously caught him. He didn't go very far. He was right in front of me. The rest of my movement, I started moving those pump wagons toward his line, and I also started moving up the rest of the army somewhat tentatively. I used my chaff again to block his Frost Mammoth this time, as well as his big bruiser unit with the 2 characters that they can't charge out either. So, yeah, that's it for that. Into Magic, we managed to do Will-o'-the-Wisp again. We managed to get that on his mercenary veterans with pistols this time. Yeah, so on to them. And I think that was pretty much it for Magic. In shooting, though, we did manage to get rid of these those 2 Sabertooths that were left. And I think the Git launcher actually misfired this turn, can't shoot for the next 2. So, but that's what the table's looking like as we go into turn 2 for Ogre Cons. So as you see, he had to random move. He considered moving backwards, but decided to go and finish off that Guardian Behemoth this time. He also charged the flank of the Spider Riders, or the Raiders here. Luckily, I passed the terror check. I was outside of generalship range and BSB range, for that matter, but I managed to pass it on their own Goblin leadership, so hooray. He also charged that pump wagon in the front, which was kind of surprising to me. I think he could have moved back just with how many threats I had and just taken the 2d6 impact hits from it and been fine. He had considered charging the front of these guys as well, but ultimately decided not to. Over here, he did a reform, decided to, instead of trying to go into my back line, he wanted to get some support, because those Tuskers are going to cause the Orcs all kinds of problems anyway. So, yeah, it was a good call to bring those guys back into the table. And those tribesmen, they're going to go try and sneak into the deployment zone for the secondary. Into the Magic phase, He did Swarm of Insects on the other pump wagon, managed to do 2 wounds to it. And that's pretty much it. There was no shooting. He did kills the behemoth that was up here. He kills the scrap wagon and just reforms on the spot, or pivots rather than a reform. But yeah, both of those guys are there. And the other one that was surprisingly, he killed 7 out of 8 on the Spider Riders. I broke. He decided to restrain the pursuit, and the remaining Spider Rider ended up kind of right out here in front of my orcs. So yeah, there's that one there. So this is going into turn 3 already for Orcs and Goblins. So on turn 3, I did call out the war cry this time. We did a multi-charge here. We did the General, the Giant, and the Iron Orcs all into that unit of mercenary veterans, and I still feel like I could probably need more against that unit, but all of these charges make it in, and I believe that was it for charges. We also managed to we rallied that single fleeing goblin, and we moved that pump wagon again. We moved this pump wagon back into my back lines. Into the magic phase, I managed to do a Raven's Wing on these veterans to get them out of the danger zone of those Tuskers coming back in, which was real nice. And other than that, I don't think that we had much else for that. Shooting, I actually do a couple wounds to the... actually, I missed something here. These goblins fled from a charge from something. I think it was his mercenary veterans, but I chose to flee because goblins are cunning, and so they rallied on this turn. The bow shots here did manage to do a couple wounds to the bruisers, though. Into combat. We go in, he wipes out, it looks like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the Iron Orcs, with only very few attacks left. It looks like I managed in Magic to also get the Guile and Fury off on these guys for +1 to hit. So we did a number on him. He was down, broke from combat. He was down by 8 or 9. They fled and were caught by the Iron Orcs. I tested restraint for the other 2. Both of those ones passed. But the mercenary veterans that were here with this BSB failed a panic check, rolled a panic check, and went directly off the table. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting and unexpected. So, yeah, I just faced back the other units towards the center of the table then. We're going to go into turn 3 for Ogre Cons. I think it's just an overview of what the table's looking like. So, yeah. Turn 3 for Ogre Cons, he was going to charge the Lord with the Frost Mammoth. He's going to make that charge in. And that was it for charges, actually. No, actually, he did declare another one on this turn. The big bruiser block did declare a charge into these goblins as well. They do have the Swift Stride banner, but they luckily failed that check. It was a little bit far. I think he needed a 10, but yep, failed it either way. So the rest of his units keep kind of moving up to get in a little bit better position. I can't really do anything against his Tuskers, but unfortunately he really doesn't have a good easy charge that makes sense at this moment either. So into the magic phase, I think he cast Children of Umi on, I want to say this was on the Frost Mammoth. It must have been on the Frost Mammoth. But anyway, he gets that off. There's nothing else. There's no shooting. Into combat, he whiffs. He doesn't do a single wound to me. I actually managed to do a single wound back to him. I'm down by 1, but minimized 8, down by 1, goes to 7. With a reroll, I stick around. So that's what the table looks like. As we're going to go into turn 4 for Orc and Goblins. So into turn 4, we charge the giant in the front of the Frost Mammoth and the goblins with the poison spears in at the flank. They both make that in. We reform the Iron Orcs to face the center of the table again. And I think that's a little bit more reforming here in the center as well to try and help out my BSB unit, because I mean they're strength 4 with bows. They're not really meant to fight that much, especially against the Tuskers. But into the magic phase, I got the hereditary spell Guile and Fury onto these orcs over here, and I think that was about it actually. Shooting, I killed off a wound or two into the to the mercenary veterans with the Git launcher. I think was able to fire this turn and managed to do a couple wounds. And then in combat, of course, you see the Frost Mammoth broke from combat, and I believe it was the giant who ran him down, and then he didn't even go very far. That's about like 5 inches. The Lord stayed, and the goblins restrained as well and reformed on the spot. So that's what the table looks like as we're going to go into turn 4 for Ogre Cons. So he decided to charge into the giant with his bruisers. He makes that charge. On the other side of the table, he backed up, actually. And he went into... He declared a charge into the pump wagon, or the scrap wagon that was there. And, of course, that was pretty auto, because I had failed hitting him with the impact hits by about 2 inches, I think is what it was. So, yeah, that's going to disappear over there. Like I said, he moved back with the Tuskers. I think he was a little bit too tentatively, for no good reason, up against my central line. I think he was worried about getting stuck in and then getting a flank charge from the big goblin brick, but even then, I think he does enough wounds to grind away at me for a while, at least. So, magic, I think he got Children of Umi on his bruiser block, and that was it. Into combat, he kills the pump wagon. It's gone. He didn't overrun. And then over here, he killed the giant, but he did all but 1 wound on the giant with impact hits and his Great Con. The rest of his unit, including his wizard, have all got great weapons. I opted for a great weapon as well, borrowing from the Iron Orcs there with the arm to the teeth rule, and I directed all of the attacks against his wizard and managed to kill his wizard. So he did kill the giant with the rest of the attacks. He got an overrun, nobody panicked, into the general. But that's what the table looks like as we're going to go into turn 5 for Orc and Goblins. So over here, I decided to keep moving into the deployment with the Spear Goblins and kind of pivoted on the spot, I guess, with some of the other stuff. Seeing as he was tentatively... He kept backing up with those Tuskers, I decided to just fake like I wanted that fight as well. And just kept repositioning those guys. Again, I moved the Iron Orcs back towards the center of the table to go help out the Lord, pending I don't die. But yep, he moves... Yeah, like I said, I had moved these guys back because he had moved his Tuskers around on his turn and decided to just go into the secondary because the rest of the table wasn't looking so good. So I responded by moving back here to protect the secondary from these guys, who I think have to move like another 2 inches in to get into the secondary, which I can't see them until they do. But he does have turn 6, so he can just march those guys in turn 6 and then march these guys behind, and everything will be fine. Up in there's no magic, there's no shooting left for ogres, so right into combat. The Lord I think I did a wound to him, and he does a wound to me. Yeah, and that was about it. I do manage to pass the break check, and in turn 5, I think it is now, it's turn 5 or turn 6? Either way, I think this is turn 6. The Iron Orcs charge into the flank of the Bruisers. We almost wipe out all of the Bruisers. The generals are stuck in a duel, doing next to no wounds to each other. We win by a ton. We break and we chase them down, catching the Bruiser unit with the general, and get further into the deployment zone. And I think that's pretty much it for that over there. Like I said, the other side over here, he does wait. He has the turn 6, so he just moves up to get 2 into the deployment zone. I have 2 in the deployment zone, so it's a push on secondary. But with all those points racked up from the Orcs and Goblins, it managed to be a 16-4 victory for the Ogre Cons. It was a really fun battle. The first one of a single day kind of games day / tournament that we had here recently. I've got another 2 games to report from that day, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the battle reports as we ramp back up. I hope to start doing a couple more, as well as there's some war hall battles that I started to do, and I might do some reports on those as well. As always, hope you like these battles, and stay tuned for the next one.